Chicago's Lincoln Park Zoo. 4 million people visit this zoo on only 35 acres every year. You can be one of them. Dynamic, urban, lakeside. It's been here over 100 years, and admission is still free. How did it get to be free, and how does it stay free? It began in 1868 with a gift of 2 swans from New York Central Park. This seemed to trigger lots of other donations of animals. By 1873, only 5 years later, there were 13 swans and almost 60 other animals on the grounds, including wolves, foxes, bear, and 2 American bison. Donations and loans continued, occasionally from circuses. But the park commissioners started buying animals too. In 1877, the deer paddock was enlarged, and a clear need for general improvement of animal quarters was recognized. The search for funds began. But in 1878, the park commissioners laid down the rule that this zoo should always be free to the public, and so it's remained. In 1889, the first California sea lions were purchased. They've been one of our most popular features ever since. A major investment in facilities for housing and exhibiting the animals was made between 1900 and 1927. The brick and iron facilities in the prairie style were considered state-of-the-art at the time. We acquired our first gorilla in 1931, named Bushman, brought here at the age of 1 year. He became our most popular attraction. At a time when gorillas in captivity did not usually survive for long, he lived for 20 years, creating intense interest in the whys and hows of captive gorilla management. Animal management in general and the need for organized conservation efforts have become the focus of zoos the world over in just the last 20 years. Lincoln Park Zoo has been a leader in researching habitat and husbandry for endangered mammals, especially gorillas. We want to preserve the character of our zoo, but be a viable, modern facility at the same time. The formation of an active zoological society in 1959 has made that possible. Today, that society, 18,000 members strong and growing, supports about 50% of the daily operating expenses of our zoo. That helps keep the zoo free.
Our emphasis is very much on this unique opportunity we have to tell a story about ecology and conservation and wildlife to generations of both young and older people.
Besides public education, the zoo's mission is recreation. This sturdy infant may grow to 6,200 pounds on twigs and leaves. Here he is, not even 2 months old. There are typically fewer than 3 black rhinoceros births in North American zoos per year, and they're endangered in the wild. We plan very carefully. We built a special habitat for our young female black rhino, borrowed a young male from the San Francisco Zoo and a young female from the Cincinnati Zoo. Waited 6 years for them to mature, and ta-da! We had a birth. It only took 10 years. Today, our zoo houses more than 1,600 mammals, reptiles, and birds. The actual animals change regularly because of births and loans to and from other zoos. Our newest attraction is the Regenstein Birds of Prey habitat. 3 outdoor habitats well planted with trees and shrubbery and inviting to the inhabitants are enclosed only by screening. We're talking eagles, snowy owls, vultures, and African secretary birds who can be 4 feet tall. The largest habitat is 40 by 90 feet, housing the African secretary birds and 4 kinds of vultures. The largest is the Cinereus vulture with a wingspan of up to 9.5 feet, and they have room to fly. Those screens are the only thing between you and them. No moats, no bars, no lawns. Our Pritzker Children's Zoo has been updated and renewed with new gardens and new habitats. Now, it mirrors the same conservation message as the rest of the new zoo habitats. The outdoor part of the old Children's Zoo was a playground where some animals could be seen. The new Children's Zoo is now a garden woodland in which young animals and children can experience each other. Hey, we're not just talking woodchucks here. Sure, we've got woodchucks, but we've also got bobcats, prairie dogs, African pygmy goats, foxes, deer, ducks, tarantulas, and opossums. The new Indoor Learning Center at the Children's Zoo has guided and unguided experiences of nature's wonders. As much fun for adults as children. The zoo nursery is here too. There are chimps, a lemur, and a marmoset. We don't remove the young from the mother's care unless absolutely necessary. That's another zoo practice that has changed over 10 or 20 years. Recently, the farm in the zoo was freshened and restored. Originally completed in 1965, it's a classic Midwestern farm on 5 acres. With a big barn with silo, a poultry barn, a horse barn, and a dairy barn. We have a Clydesdale, a quarter horse, and a Pinto. Take your pick. You can see the horses being groomed once every day. During the summer, you can feed the cows. Get friendly with goats, calves, and sheep. Talk to the horses. Taste fresh churned butter. Or see chicks hatch. The cows get milked every day at 10, 12, and 2, or else. And the cow's milk is used to feed other baby farm animals and some young hoofed animals in the zoo. The cows have to be milked at night, too. Lots of care and feeding goes on here at night. Feed. Did I mention feed? Can you imagine what it takes to feed 1,600 wild animals day and night every day? Snacks are not going to do it. Yes, we do buy in the largest volume we can to save money. But we're talking about controlled diet and nutrition, about steaming, chopping, and mincing, about live crickets and worms, about chickens and even vitamins. The Crown Field Education Center houses offices, a gift shop, and an auditorium. 8 different short films are shown in the auditorium every day. Be sure to check their times on the daily events lists. They're free too. The top of the Education Center has been refitted to house 2 Australian koalas. Hey, don't call me a bear. And talk about smart use of space. They're far more closely related to kangaroos and opossums than bears. They carry their young in a pouch, like kangaroos, which means koalas are marsupials. And anyway, whoever heard of a bear that would only eat eucalyptus leaves? 2 opposable thumbs on each forepaw, and opposable big toes on the hind paws. Hey, this can't be a bear, honey. Yes, you can get this close. In the wild, koalas snooze during the day and forage in the trees after sunset, very slowly. Nineteen lowland gorillas have been born at Lincoln Park Zoo since the completion of the Great Ape House in 1976. It also houses orangutans, and chimpanzees. But our lowland gorilla collection is considered the result of a model breeding and conservation program. These gorillas have long been endangered in the wild, primarily due to an ever-decreasing habitat. We now manage a total of 30 individuals, but some are loaned out to other zoos as part of our captive management program. More gorillas have been born and raised by their mothers at Lincoln Park Zoo than any other zoo in the world. And now even a 3rd generation has been born in captivity. Yes, there's an outdoor yard too. In good weather, they get direct sunlight, grass, and great views of the city skyline. Let's look in on the chimps too. 3 o'clock is a good time. That's when they get fed. They like to feast on these treats, using the same technique that they use in the wild to fish for termites. They're the most vocal and active of the great apes. Yes, they're great apes too. The chimpanzees we're all used to seeing in the circus are usually no more than 3 years old. But they're not fully grown until they're 6 or 7 years old. The penguin seabird house is an enclosed, sophisticated, climate-controlled environment. It's needed partly because these animals are susceptible to airborne infection. The penguin side houses rockhopper, macaroni, kings, and chinstrap penguins with their own 18,000-gallon pool. All 17 species of penguin live about 2/3 of their lives at sea. using land only to breed, raise their chicks, and molt. They're all flightless, but have been clocked in the water at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. The rockhoppers here are the showy ones, with yellow tasseled head feathers, red eyes, and pink feet. Well, they certainly didn't evolve camouflage coloring. Not far away, well, after all, nothing is far from anything at Lincoln Park Zoo, is a 266,000-gallon pool for the exclusive use of our polar bears. We don't recommend sharing a swim with this 1,000-pound carnivore, but you can certainly get a good look at his style and grace. Polar bears are remarkable swimmers and divers, often seen hunting for fish and seal far out at sea. But that's one good reason this guy does not share his pool, especially with our sea lions and harbor seals. Well, they're rather spoiled anyhow. Sea lions have been at Lincoln Park Zoo, remember, since 1879. Their habitat has an underwater viewing window, too. The seals and sea lions are our only truly aquatic animals. After all, they can even sleep underwater. But compare the seal's swimming efficiency to the polar bears. Sure, the sea lion is much more streamlined, but what does that bear have to do to be considered aquatic? Bark? The sea lion pool has to be drained every May and June when births are expected because the pups must be taught to swim. It's not instinctual. A major success story of zoo breeding for return to the wild is the Arabian oryx. Considered by some to be the original inspiration for unicorns. They were extinct in the wild for at least 10 years, but were once plentiful over a huge range including Palestine, Syria, and all the way to the southern coast of Arabia. Some have already been returned to the wild near Oman, Arabia. Another try of breeding is with the endangered radiated tortoise of Madagascar. Not many zoos are working with them. It took us almost 20 years to get our first hatching. That was in 1988. And there's already a second clutch of radiated tortoise eggs in our incubators. They take several months to hatch, and we're watching very carefully. Spectacled bears are an endangered native of South America. Breeding them here has been quite successful. 15 births since 1972. We now manage 10% of the known captive population. They're aggressive and accomplished tree climbers. And they seem to believe that there is no such thing as being in trouble. Bactrian camels are the two-humped variety. Camels can close their nostrils like seals do when swimming, but Camels do it to keep out blowing sand. Although long domesticated, a few wild camels do exist in the Gobi Desert and parts of China. Back in our large mammal habitat is the pygmy hippo. Notice its skin is much smoother than the rhino. Smooth, soft, and oily. Well, rhinos live on dry plains in thorn and scrub country. Their skin is rough, dry, and rigid, like elephant skin. Hippos, regular and pygmy, live in wet forests and swamps. They tend to spend most of their days submerged. In South America, tapirs like to be in water too. He swims okay, but he doesn't float so well. It doesn't bother him. He uses his snout like a snorkel. If you like the chance to get your mammals in bunches, try the small mammal house. Marmosets and tamarins? You say you like marmosets and tamarins? We've got pygmy marmosets, emperor tamarins, and cotton-headed tamarins. Teddy monkeys. And black howler monkeys. There are porcupines, most species of which grow to over 50 pounds. Fennec foxes, with ears like funnels. And the short-eared elephant shrew that eats only insects. Of course, when you're here, you don't have to race through the small mammal house. Take your time. You might want to visit the nocturnal exhibit. That's in the small mammal house, too. Animals that are normally active only at night are called nocturnal, and they're found all over the world. Back outside are more large mammals like elephants. Up to 11,000 pounds. Is that large enough for you? That makes them the largest land mammal on the planet. And hey, they're vegetarians. They do get a head start, though. When they're born, they already weigh as much as 250 pounds. Keepers have to learn to handle these creatures with commands for safety, and so they can be positioned if sick. Hey, they're too big to push. Keepers work on the commands twice a day, every morning in private during the elephant's bath, so there's no distractions. And every afternoon, about 1:15, with distractions. If you like your details up close, be sure to stop at one of our 3 curiosity carts. There's one just about reptiles, one about birds, and one about a whole range, mostly mammals, called the diversity card. Each card is attended by a trained volunteer called a docent. They'll be happy to let you touch. They want you to touch and ask questions, too. The docents also give zoo talks around the zoo at scheduled times. Docents do zoo group tours too. Ask at any information booth, but remember, the tours are free. If you need a quiet moment, look in on the swans and flamingos at the Waterfowl Lagoon. Or have a seat by the rookery, if you don't mind a lot of company. Maybe cats are more your thing, like tigers. They're one of the largest wild cats and are in danger of extinction. In fact, these animals have been targeted by zoos for long-term captive breeding programs. Like your primate wildlife in large doses? Here are the endangered lemurs: the black lemur, the ruffed red and black lemur, and the ruffed black and white lemur. All are endangered, and all have produced young here. There are old world monkeys like the lion-tailed macaque. Among the New World monkeys, we have two kinds who use their tails to grasp or climb, not just to balance. In spring and fall, field trips from schools can bring 200 buses in one day. Everyone's welcome here. It's open, free, and lakeside. You can come and go as you please. Stay 10 minutes or all day long. Yeah, Chicago's Lincoln Park Zoo. Containing a whole world of wildlife on the lakefront. Urban and still free. Thriving. Loved. Exciting. Come and enjoy our wildlife on the lakefront in Chicago.